Hello, everyone, and glad to be back. Let's just say that after a somewhat lengthy vacation that involved driving 2 days across half the country from here to California, which you can see pictured here, I managed to get a lot of content, or at least a fair bit amount for several videos, and this is going to be the first of several that I'm going to do. This is a driving video like the others that I had earlier that were at Miatas at the Gap. In this case, I drove 2 days west from Texas to California. And as you can see here, this obviously looks like California. So, one of the objectives I had of this particular trip or vacation that I wanted to do was to meet up with some friends and also to take my Miata in the twisties over there. I've taken it to the twisties back east, obviously, in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, but I wanted to give the ones in California a go for several reasons. Number one, the Miata was invented in California, and particularly Southern California, as you can see here. So I wanted to put myself in kind of the mindset that the original designers and engineers and whatnot that they had when they designed the Miata back in the 80s, and they were driving along these mountain roads as well part of the fun that you see here. So I'm with a buddy of mine, as you can see here. If you know Yozuro Miata on Instagram, and maybe he goes by that name on several other platforms, he's in that black NA that you see in front of me. And we're heading over the Santa Monica Mountains. This is basically in the western part of LA County, heading from the Thousand Oaks area all across to, we're going to wind up in Point Dume State Beach and State Park in Malibu. So this is basically the road to get there. And we're not taking like the twistiest paths over the mountains, but we're getting probably with three different roads we're going to take, which is one of them's going to be, I think, Mulholland Drive. This one is Canaan Road. And I forget the names of the streets out there, but if you pay attention, you can probably look on a map. Some of these are somewhat twisty. Some of these are relatively straight. I think the speed limit for most of the video that you see here is pretty much 55 miles an hour, which is what most of the roads in like Deals Gap, North Carolina are. So just sit back, enjoy. I'm not going to comment too much about things, but you can just hear me rant or banter a bit while we drove over the mountains here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my trip. So, like I said, I wanted to try these mountain roads here in California because that's where the Miata was originally designed. And after driving on these roads, I kind of see where they're coming from, especially with reviving the old British and Italian roadsters from the 60s. I think handling on twisty roads was kind of maybe a second thought to Mazda's engineers at the time, and the two men who invented the Miata, Bob Hall and Tomatano, may God rest his soul. But you know, it's I can see where they were coming from. They no doubt like drove the prototype on these roads, and apparently there was that famous or infamous testing that they did just up the coast here in Santa Barbara, where people were, I guess, paparazzi were like taking photographs of their prototype. And this was like 2 or 3 years before the Miata was actually like released to the public as a production model. So another thing I want to apologize for, by the way, with this video, and I didn't realize it until after I viewed the GoPro footage, and I didn't have that much time to explore every road in this area. You can see, obviously, the sun glare, so I do apologize for that. But if you kind of ignore that part of the sky, you can see like the mountains and the landscape and the roads, and you know what? I kind of see why people like California, especially the hilly areas. It's absolutely beautiful, and it'll get more beautiful as we go along this video here. I had a I had a bit of an agenda. Let me grab this here. If my if I'm moving around funny across the screen, it's because I'm using a combination of two programs. I'm porting XR Animator onto VC Face, and that's why, unlike my previous driving videos, I can actually like move my hands, as you can see here. But I wanted to port them over rather than use XR Animator directly because I don't know if it's possible in XR Animator. I haven't really looked into it, although I tried for a little bit. It's hard to do, or it's almost impossible to do different kinds of toggles that I have built into this design on VC Face. As an example, I can do this through VC Face, but if I use XR Animator only, just for doing, full body 3D motion like I'm doing right now, I can't toggle, for instance, my glasses or my hat. That's the first time I think I've ever done it live. So, well, not live, but I mean in a video. You get what I mean. So we'll leave it like this for now because, this is, I guess, the default view. Oh my gosh, that sun is bright. Maybe I'll leave it like this for just a little bit. But one thing you'll enjoy about this video is like California's picturesque landscape and the roads here. We're going to go through a couple of tunnels later on. Like I think we're approaching the first one here. If you've ever seen some of the old sitcoms or television shows or movies from like the 1980s and the 1990s, and let's face it, most of them were filmed in this area. If there's any kind of like car chase scene that goes through like mountain roads and goes through a tunnel or something like that, chances are these are the tunnels that it was filmed with, or that they were filmed in, and then they just shut down one of the tunnels just to do film production. I also want to apologize for the noise that like my GoPro has been making because it's in a case, or a protective case, I should say, that mounts on a stand or a mount on my windshield. So sometimes it makes noise like that, but I guess you'll just have to put up with it until I get a better setup. I haven't decided whether or not to invest in Insta360 or one of these other, cameras that they have out on the market for doing everything, but that's going to happen real soon, I think, as I do more of these videos. Let's see, I had a list of things I actually wanted to talk about. So yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy my my vacation. Drove 2 days from Texas all the way to the greater Los Angeles area, Southern California, whatever you want to call it. It's I think it's like 1,400 miles each way, probably longer than that. And I put it all on my ND, so my ND's already. I had changed the oil in my ND right before I went on this trip, and now I'm like, I change my oil every 7,500 miles in the ND, which is what Mazda recommends if you don't drive it too hard, and I don't. It's mainly a daily driver. So I go 7,500. There are lots of Miata enthusiasts that'll say, "Oh, you need to do it 3,500. You need to do it 5,000." It's like, well, I don't track my car. I don't drive it real hard most of the time. So 7,500 is good enough for me. So I think probably at least 3,000 miles on this trip. So I'm already halfway to to my next oil change. But it's fun, but it's also kind of like tiring. This is my third time ever, I think, driving in my own car to California from what they call back east, I guess. The first time I did it from, closer to the East Coast, and it was a 3-day drive each way when I went to Anime Expo back in, I think it was 2014. And then I did it for Anime Expo last year, but if you're driving from Texas to California, it's a day shorter than if you're driving from, say, Florida, Georgia, or most of the other eastern states that are not like in the northeastern U.S. to California. So, and that's assuming you drive like 10 to 12 hours each day, and then you stop for the night in a hotel, which is what I did. Speaking of which, so I got back to Texas yesterday, and the drive took longer than expected on the first day, mainly because it was the day before Thanksgiving, and I decided maybe I was going to be smart and leave before everybody else. But first of all, it took me like 2.5, 3 hours just to get out of extra hours to get out of Los Angeles with all the traffic there and everybody leaving, which wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but. And then driving through Arizona was an absolute like nightmare. I had traffic in Phoenix. I had traffic between Phoenix and Tucson because everybody just goes back and forth between those two cities for holiday break or to see family, just so they can have their turkey. And then they had construction just outside of Tucson, where they had the interstate down to like one lane in each direction. But because people can't fucking zipper merge if their life depended on it, and there's too many damn trucks on the road, and also people who are only holiday drivers, well, I got to a point right just east of Tucson, I think, where it took 3 hours just to go 5 miles. And then I had to stop for the night in a hotel, and I didn't get checked in until like, I was expecting to get there 10 or 11 o'clock at night at my halfway point, but it wound up being like 2 in the morning. So I just collapsed in bed, slept for 6 hours, and then drove the rest of the way through the 3/4 the length of Texas, I guess, if you want to call it that. So in an ND, it's pretty comfortable. I've done similar drives back east in NA Miatas, and let me tell you, the NA is not quite as comfortable as the ND. But the main reason for that is if you ever drive both cars, so the NA has like the normal transmission tunnel, and so my right leg, when it's on the gas pedal, it's always going to be at an angle unless I'm using cruise control, which I do have in my 96M edition, and it works. So I think I'll take advantage of that next time I go on a road trip. But in an ND, there's a hump in the transmission tunnel that gives the passenger a little bit less legroom. That's it. That's if you're in a left-hand drive version of the Miata. So if you live in the U.S. or continental Europe or most of the world, you know what I'm talking about. It's on the driver's side if you're in Japan or the U.K. or one of these right-hand drive countries. But here in the U.S., we have left-hand drive vehicles because we drive on the right side of the road. But the NDs foot well. It's almost completely vertical from the transmission tunnel down to the floor. So my leg is not at an awkward angle when I'm holding down the gas pedal for like an hour straight. So that's definitely something I'm a little bit more appreciative of. With the newer generation, for sure. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I may do a road trip like this once a year from now on. I say that now that I'm a little bit more fully energized, and which is why I'm making this video the day after I got back from that trip. So, but let me tell you something, in a small car, or even as comfortable as the ND, driving 2 days straight, 12 hours a day is gonna wear you out. I don't care how old or young you are. You need to get out and stretch your legs every now and then. So just be sure to remember to do that. Another thing I wanted to comment on while we're in this video before we turn on this road, and this is the final road that I think is going to get us to the beach. You'll have some good views of the Pacific Ocean in a few minutes. But so I don't think I got a representative sample of the types of roads that are out here that Miatas are meant to be driven on in California. I want to drive some more, but these roads were fairly curvy. Excuse me. But one thing I noticed about driving here compared to, say, driving in North Carolina or Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains is that I am going faster and the curves are more sweeping and gentle. It's not even, let's exclude like Tail of the Dragon. for example, which is the curviest road that most people who are enthusiasts know about. There are roads that are better than that in that particular area, but I'm not going to tell you about them. I don't want them to get popular. But if you take representative examples of roads in North Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee in that part, what such as say Blood Mountain or Cherahala Skyway or some of these others around there, even on those sweeping roads, you're in second or third gear most of the time with how curvy those roads are. And you can take some of those curves at 50, 60 miles an hour. These you could probably take a little bit faster, but I found that when I was driving my ND here, and I took my ND to Miatas at the Gap last time, so it's a fair comparison. I haven't done any modifications to it since. So it's the same car, same specs and whatnot. But on these roads here, I was in third or fourth gear most of the time, instead of second or third. What that means is, if you know anything about driving cars on roads like these, is that I didn't have to I guess, engine brake as often. I didn't have to throw it into such a low gear around a lot of these curves, which tells you that they're not as twisty, and they're not as challenging as the ones back east. Now, I hear that the best canyon road to drive on, and the ones that all the enthusiasts like to go to in Southern California, is, I think it's Azusa Canyon Road, and I didn't want to go there because I didn't know who was going to be there. I know that that road's kind of become a little bit notorious, maybe for a lot of enthusiasts there, kind of like Tail of the Dragon back east. So, but it's it's something I didn't want to risk. Let's just say that. Plus, I mean, a lot of the car YouTubers, they go up there and they're the ones who are filming all their test runs on whatever new press car they get, whether it's well, I won't name any names. So, but if they were up there, I didn't want to bother them because some of them were probably filming up there for whatever reason, like they always do. Let's see what else is on my list. Did anybody see that new Mazda concept vehicle that they released a few weeks ago? It looked like a coupe or a sedan or something like that. Kind of maybe a re-release of the Mazda 6. I don't know what to make of it. It is definitely not like a new RX successor or a new Miata, but I'm not sure it was something I was too excited about. But Mazda was really hyping it up for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why they were hyping it up, but they did. But I don't know what to make of it. I'm not really interested in getting a sedan or another coupe, but hey, I mean, they probably put it out because they see it as a moneymaker for all that we know. Let's see, what else is there? So, Motor Week is celebrating its 45th anniversary. In case you don't know, Motor Week is basically television's original automotive news magazine. And it's been airing on PBS since 1981. So, this is its 45th season, so to speak. John Davis has been hosting it all 45 years. And still going strong and kicking. He's an absolute legend, and I admire him for what he's done throughout the years. I grew up watching it as a kid. I still like to watch all the new episodes, especially the ones that have to do with new sports cars or new enthusiast cars. So, and I love the retro episodes they do and the retro marathons they do. They've got one for Thanksgiving going on right now. So, you should go check it out when you get a chance. Let's see what else is going on here. Oh, something else. So I'll talk a little bit about my trip once I was actually in California. I hit up a lot of the anime stores, including Animate's store in retail store in Del Amo Shopping Center. Pretty much every book off location in the area as well, and I bought mostly used figures, but I was looking for used copies of some of the Japanese language Watamote volumes I was missing. Specifically, I'm missing 18, and I think I'm missing volume 21 and onward. So tried to find them, but there was no dice, unfortunately. There's only one location among all of them, I think, in the entire area, and there's like half a dozen in Southern California that sells used Japanese manga, and it's the one in Gardena. But I got there like 15 minutes before close, and I couldn't find it. But I guess it's just something. Whenever I get around to it, I'll just order them off Amazon or something. I did buy other things as well. I bought some CDs because I'm on a physical media kick. So I look forward to listening to all of those. It looks like we finally reached Pacific Coast Highway. So we're gonna turn left here when we get a chance, and then head down the PCH to Point Dume State Park and Beach. What's funny is you'll see an NDRF up here on joining us, or we're going to come up on it, and whoever was driving that, they turned off to the right. I guess maybe they live there or whatever, but we're thinking about waving, but I don't know that the driver noticed us. But you'll see it up ahead here pretty soon. So in case you're wondering, mountains are off to the left, the Pacific Ocean's off to the right. We're heading down the coast, as they say, toward the east or the south, whatever you want to call it. It's more east, although the Pacific Coast Highway, which is California State Highway 1, is signed north to south because California mostly goes from north to south. But on this stretch, it's going from east to west right before you hit Santa Monica, and then it curves, kind of sweeps southward. But yeah, you can see that NDRF. It's turning off to the right there. I did wave at her, but I don't know that she noticed us. Maybe she did, but she was shy, for all we know. What else is on my list here? Oh, a few more things. So, on this trip, um, let me tell you something. If you are on the fence about getting an ND Miata compared to, say, a BRZ or 86 or a Civic Type R or any other kind of enthusiast vehicle, like a new vehicle or a relatively recent model year of whatever vehicle that you want, a good argument for getting an ND is the fuel efficiency and the gas mileage. I will tell you after Yozora Miata and I were taking pictures and doing some hikes along the beachfront cliffs and state parks that we're going to be coming up on fairly soon. I had to drive back to Orange County to where I was staying, and I hit let's just say I'll have a video after this of me driving another length of the PCH from Malibu down to Santa Monica. And that one's going to be interesting, but I'm not going to tell you why, although you could probably guess if you're familiar with geography and you were keeping track of the news several months ago. But I hit the 405 freeway, which is probably the most infamous freeway in California, and it was slow and go throughout the entire trek from the west side of LA down to Orange County. I think it took maybe 2.5 hours to get down there. And that entire time, I was averaging over 40 miles a gallon in my ND. I've gotten it to the point where, yeah, I can do that even with like shifting constantly, second, third, fourth gear, whatever, slow and go, stop and go, you name it, city driving. And somehow, like, I don't know if it's like some kind of magical engine or something like that, I'm getting 40 miles a gallon. And this is on like 91 octane because I couldn't find many places that had 93 in California for some reason. Maybe I wasn't looking carefully, but I was paying close attention and well, I did say I wasn't looking carefully, then I was saying paying close attention. But I want to say like the one time I filled up, actually like in the LA area, not outside of it, the most they had, the highest octane they had was 91. I don't know why 93 is, well, no, I can probably guess why 93 is not popular in the interior Western United States, and it's probably due to the higher elevation in those areas. I know you go to states like Colorado, and it's rare to find anything above 91. And I think they go as low as like 85 octane, whereas in most states back east, 87 is kind of like regular grade. But that's because of the higher elevation, apparently. I don't know the whole physics behind that, but I know the higher elevation, the lower the octane. So maybe that had something to do with it as I was driving through like Arizona, New Mexico, and the western half of Texas. So I think we're about to come up off on our turn point here because up ahead is Point Dume. So let's see, what can I wrap this up on? Yeah, so more video content is coming, including at least one more driving video. I do have footage for an oil change video for an Indy, which might sound boring to you, but there are a few tidbits involved with changing the oil in an Indy Miata that I think you'll learn from that video, and I'm gonna make that as a YouTube short or Instagram reel. So, and then I've got a couple more ideas of what I'm going to do. So hopefully I'll get all of that out sometime this weekend. But for now, what I'll say is it's great to be back. I've been gone for longer than a week simply because I've been busy preparing for the trip and everything. But finally, it's finally good to be back and making content again. So without saying much more, I'll say everybody have a happy Thanksgiving weekend as if you're in the United States. Don't push over other people and fight too much in the crowds, taking advantage of Black Friday shopping sales. And most of all, just enjoy. And we all have a lot to be thankful for. I have a lot to be thankful for. I have to be thankful for being able to do this now and taking the initiative to learn everything about, VTubing, making content like this. And it's just something that motivates me. So with that said, look for more content later this weekend. Like I said, I'll have another video. I'll have another short or two. So with that, it's good to be back.